Hey guys, thanks for being here. I'm super excited for this video because we found out JLo's makeup routine. Okay, she did the Vogue thing on Vogue's YouTube channel where she gets on. I love how they do this with different celebrities. They'll very casually like put on their makeup or do whatever element of their getting ready routine is special to them. And of course she came out looking awesome. And of course she used a bunch of luxury products. So my instinct is let's redo this, but let's make it drugstore. So that's what we're gonna do today. But it's actually kind of a fusion of a couple of video ideas, because before I ever saw that video, I had asked on Instagram, I just got this idea rolling, like what are techniques I don't use enough or maybe have never tried and that you guys would like to see me do. So I asked on Instagram, what are some underused techniques for me? And people were throwing out all these things like doing the contour first and then putting foundation on top, contouring your nose, overlining your lips, doing a mostly cream product routine, all this stuff. And so much of this is what JLo's doing. So many of those techniques are going to be happening today. So I will tell you, I've studied her video. I watched it once, I watched it and took notes, I gave it a trial run, I rewatched the video to make sure I didn't miss anything. And also I will say at the start of it, she does her skincare routine and she's using all her JLo skincare stuff, which I should probably look into, but I haven't. So I've already done all my skincare and my sunscreen, and we're gonna be jumping into the makeup part of all this. Oh, she also lit a candle. My equivalent to that will be turning on my coffee cup warmer. And she did some affirmations. She said like, I am healthy, my family is in perfect health. Just a lot of positive thoughts to get things rolling. I should probably be doing that before my videos here. I'm gonna do my viewers proud and come up with an affordable JLo makeup routine. As she was doing her stuff, she also mentioned Kevin Aquan. That was the only really makeup artist influence that she talked about in this video. And she said he was the first professional makeup artist that she learned from. And I thought that was neat. I have several Kevin Aquan books and I've learned a lot from them. But yeah, let's get started. Skin is prepped. I also, in the spirit of JLo, I slicked back my hair because her hair was slicked back too. I've set aside a little bag of some things, and yeah, this is going to require maybe some different brushes, some different techniques, but I think I figured out what's gonna work. So she starts out using NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, and she's doing it really in the standard concealer areas where I would put it as well. But yeah, this is step one. Foundation comes later. She's gonna contour and stuff before the foundation comes in. So thinking about the coverage level and stuff of that NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, and by the way, I haven't used every single thing that she's choosing for her video, so I'm not calling this a dupes video. I'm just thinking of drugstore alternatives that, with my knowledge, will appear similar to the look she's getting, okay? So she chose NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. I have used that one, and I think the e.l.f. 16-Hour Camo Concealer with just the regular finish, not the hydrating, will be the most similar here. And I have the shade Medium Sand. So what I'm gonna do is just apply that kind of lightly the way she did, a little bit around the eyes. I think she hit right here, around the nose. She said anywhere where there's a little darkness. So this is kind of the way she did it. And then she took a flat foundation brush to blend that in. So I'm going to use one of those too. I mean, this is a pretty old school brush idea. I feel like these have been the foundation brush before, like all the buffing and different types. But I'm just going to get this all blended in. And this is really a nice coverage concealer, so this is going to take care of really a lot of the semi-problem areas. I don't love this style of brush because I do feel like it's kind of just painting it across the skin. It is kind of catching a large surface area all at once, but especially with a fuller coverage concealer, I'm kind of surprised she didn't pull in a sponge for that. But here we go. I think we're fairly well blended there with the e.l.f. Camo Concealer. And then she brought out a Bobbi Brown cream palette, and it's pretty much like got every shade in it. It looks like kind of a makeup artist thing. I believe this is something the everyday person can buy as well, but it's like every shade of Bobbi Brown cream foundation, probably the texture of her stick foundations and stuff, just all mushed into a palette. And she begins contouring with this stuff, and I noticed she's doing a very thick path of contour on her face, and I thought she was using some kind of like buffer brush, something to make it like pretty wide on the skin, not just like a little streak, but a wide amount, and then that goes unblended for a period of time. So in the spirit of that cream texture, I grabbed a cream contour here that I have from Wet n Wild, and it's called Where's Walnut, and this worked really well for me yesterday. I love the color. So using something that can really buff, I'm using my Real Techniques Expert Face Brush, and I'm going to pick that product up on the brush because she seemed to do an application that was coming like from the product to the brush to the skin. And we're going to do this sort of wide amount of contour. Again, we're not blending it yet. And she really covered a large amount of the forehead with it. I'm so tempted to get this all blended out, so it's kind of hard. And then she said don't go too low here. She said she aims a little higher on that cheek contour, but yet it still did look really thick, like a thick patch of product. So I'm trying to do that and keep it kind of semi-high. And yeah, we're going to be going over this with foundation, guys. It actually ends up looking really good. I feel like I'm not concentrated enough with this right up here next to the hairline. But, you know, it's pretty well on there. Not supposed to be blended yet. And then down in here, I am kind of blending this. Oh, and she hit an area, what'd she call this? The light bulb? It's the area where your double chin may catch the light. And she just hit that with her contour. I thought that was great. And then she also did 2 lines down the nose. Okay, so I'm gonna see if I can like kind of pinch my buffer brush so as to not have to pull in yet another thing. I never really contour my nose. I think I've talked about it before, but I have like a little bone right here where sometimes when I pull in something darker, I feel like I just see that more, and it's not super great. May have needed the skinnier brush. I'm using the Sephora 71 concealer brush and just using the end. And I'm doing it pretty softly, but we're putting some lines there. Okay. I don't know if I saw her do this, but a lot of people put the contour right down here too to kind of shorten the look of the nose. Oh, and she went around the mouth, which I really felt like I wasn't getting right yesterday, but I can hit down here, but I didn't so much get doing it above the lip too, but let's just trust the process. This is where I struggled yesterday. I was like, what? It gives more of a pouty lip thing going around the lip. We're not trying to line the lip. It makes a slight bit more sense when we get the foundation on. Then she took the YSL Touche Éclat concealer, so a real brightening concealer, and she put that on the outer sides of the nose, so to contrast with the darkness we just put on there, under the eyes and a little bit between the brows, and she did this all before blending out the contour. So for that step, I picked my Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Brightener, and I'm just going to do the same thing. Sides of the nose, so like down the slope of the nose, under eye for brightness. A little bit right here. I'm going to use my Sephora 47 brush. Again, she was using all brushes, no sponges. And start getting that lightest stuff blended a little bit here. Just kind of pressing it into the skin. Oh, I always underestimate how good that stuff is. But normally, that's something I would put on first, like this Instant Age Rewind Brightener. If I was in a layering mode, I'd pop this on first and then some concealer. But look how incredibly brightening it is and perfecting it is when you put it on top of some already applied concealer. Look at that. So brightening. And she had this contrast going, you know. She was really brightened up. And then she came in with the Chanel Vitalumiere foundation. She was like mixing several different shades. She was using a large stipple brush and just lightly blending it everywhere. She did kind of go lighter in the center of her face when she was going between the shades, but you know, realistically, we're not all sitting around with multiple shades of one foundation. So as I'm watching this, I'm thinking, I haven't tried that Chanel foundation before, but it seems to be a fairly thin, liquidy consistency foundation, and she came away looking pretty glowy after having it on. So I'm choosing my Wet n Wild Photo Focus Dewy. I wear this in the shade Buff Bisque, and I believe what she did, she just got some of the foundation on her hand and dipped into it with a large-ish stipple brush. I think she moved, when she switched shades, she may have gone to a slightly smaller stipple brush. Let's make this as practical as possible. We're going to use one brush. I'm going to dip into that to where I look like my stipple brush has been pretty well coated. And then this is where the blending happens, y'all. So you just start putting that on, and you're putting on coverage, yes. And in the process of doing this, that contour does get softened and blended. and it's kind of crazy. And you just go over everything, and I am using kind of a stipply motion. I'm not trying to like really rake hard on the skin because I don't think the point is, we don't want to be moving the contour all around, but we want to be just blending over it. And look at this kind of magical, pretty finish that ends up happening on the skin when we do this. It's like the lightest amount of foundation, and I will say my skin, I'm trying this yesterday, the surface of my skin looked so radiant and skin-like. Like, it was kind of unbelievable. And again, I'm picking up almost everything I got on my hands. Trying to get up in here. See what's happening? With very low effort, the contour ends up getting blended. It's crazy how little I am working to blend that out. And I mean, it's not like, Where's Walnut is a great contour and all, but typically I'd be, you know, really working it in. And here I'm not trying hard at all, and it's all just kind of going. And we're kind of going over those areas where we had lightness too, so everything gets to be a little bit more as one. And look at the surface of the skin. And she was commenting to herself that, you know, she looked quite glowy. And there wasn't really anything but just these coverage steps applied so far. And the contour. Okay, I'm just making sure. Like, I don't quite believe. Like, contour, are you blended? But I think it's blended. It probably looks more blended than it ever has. Crazy. Okay. But I do feel like that Photo Focus Dewy is giving the look that she had. I really believe it. Then this is where she skips over and starts doing her eyes. And then she comes back to cream blush and highlighter. And then by the end, she jumps back to brows. And the last thing she does, she almost forgot about her mascara at the end. So I'm going to sequence this just so it makes a little more sense for me. This sequence was very important, the way it layered up, like contour then foundation. But these other steps, like, I feel like I can go ahead and do the cream blush, you know, I don't need to skip to the eyes right now. So she chose a cream blush from Beauty Blender, and it was a peachy shade, and she said she loves cream blush, and I feel like everybody's really into that right now. So I chose a peach putty blush from e.l.f., and I think the shade is called, I'm sorry, e.l.f., you did a terrible job putting names on these. Bahamas. So a really pretty peachy color, and she used a brush to apply this. I'm going to use my Sephora 56. This is the one I usually use for cream blush. And we're just going to start pressing this onto the skin. And I like doing this before we move into the eyes because I just feel like you can really get a sense of how this face look is building, you know, how these steps are coming together. Peach is nice. Peach is nice. And these putty blushes are nice too because, like, they don't mess too much with your skin's overall texture. They're really not super dewy, but they just give you this nice airbrush looking color. Okay, so she does that, and she also goes in with a Marc Jacobs highlighter cream stick. She goes down the nose and under the brows with that, and I don't think that particular stick that she's using is even being sold anymore, but I love this one from Wet n Wild. This is gorgeous. I remember when I did that video where I was talking about all these like kind of jumbo sticks that they make. This is so pretty. It's the Mega Glow makeup stick in When the Nude Strikes, and we're gonna just go straight down the center of the nose with that. Just a thin line. And again, I think she also put a little bit on the brow bone. I'm just going to gently blend over that. Just tap in. And then she brought in a powder bronzer to reinforce the nose contour, she said. It's not clear what that powder bronzer was. It didn't look familiar to me. I don't think they got the name of it in the description box. So I'll just take some Rimmel natural bronzer, and I'll just use a small brush here. This is the tapered highlight from Ulta. When I was investigating different under eye setting brushes, this was one that I found. I'm going to get product just on the tip, and I'm just going to take that down the sides of the nose. Not a big nose contourer. I'm not sure if I really did an amazing job at this, but I'm trying to do it like J-Lo does it. And to be honest with you, her nose didn't look like, you know how some people contour and their nose just looks minuscule at the end? Like, she didn't look like that. It looked natural. But yeah, we got to keep it right on the sides because remember how we brightened right in here? She went over her brows with the ABH Brow Wiz, so of course we know that there are many fine brow pencils in the drugstore that have that same format, so I'm using the e.l.f. Ultra Precise today in the shade Cool Brown. Yeah, just go through the brows pretty much like I usually do. I can talk about my early makeup influences, which were 17 and YM magazine. Oh, I remember when you were waiting to get those monthly magazines so you could pore over the like 3 pages that talked about makeup. I was so hungry for the info though. Like I was talking to Bub about this and I was like, do people get that hungry for it now? Because it's just, you know, you get on your phone and you got every answer about everything. I was just real hungry for it. First makeup product that was ever applied to my face was probably by my mom before we had some family pictures at church for the church directory, you know, those Olin Mills family photos. And I remember her putting some peach blush on me. CoverGirl Pretty Peach was the shade of Cheekers blush. And she said everybody can wear peachy pink. Apparently J-Lo agrees. But I've really enjoyed poring over J-Lo's video, like just studying it, figuring out how she did what she did, and trying to think of those products that give a similar look. I'm putting on some NYX Control Freak. I don't think she put on any brow gel that I could see, but I need it. But trying to just make it more accessible, you know? And it's like, yes, Vogue, I do want to know, what are they really using? Like, what are the true products that they've got in their makeup bag? And everything has a very accessible feel because it's like, oh, the general public can watch this video and figure out what you're doing. But it's fun for me to take it a step further and truly make it like affordable products. And maybe we can do this with some other celebrity makeup routines. If you've watched any, if you would recommend me watching any and kind of transforming them into a drugstore look, let me know. Okay, so the brows are done. Again, we're going a little different order than she did at this point, just to have all the face steps together. I am going to put on some eyeshadow primer. I didn't see her do this, but like, come on, we gotta put on the Milani eyeshadow primer. I've changed myself enough for this video. Let me have my primer. It's really just a comfort product at this point. No, it is necessary. She may have gotten like some concealers more so on her eyes than I did. My eyelids are pretty much bare. By the way, she did use some finishing powder. It was at the tail end, and I'm gonna also save that for the tail end. So yeah, unpowdered. But she came in with a Tom Ford eyeshadow quad, and I followed the link that Vogue put in, and it took me to Tom Ford eyeshadow quads in general, but I don't think any of them were the exact ones she used. But basically, what I think we need here is a deep shade that she kind of worked with as some liner, and kind of a toasty color that can go in the crease. I swear she had something on her lid, but they didn't show that step. I don't know if they edited that out, but it looked like she had some kind of lighter shadow on the lid. So I'm using this quad from e.l.f. and it's called I Love You a Latte, or is it I Like You a Latte? I Love You a Latte. And it is all matte. I think you could possibly go with shimmer on the lid because it's questionable what was on there. But what she first did was she took, it looked like kind of a stiff liner brush, and immediately went to the lower lash line with that. And I know that powder on the lower lash line, at least on me, it doesn't tend to last very well, and it can cause me to have some smudges down below. Here's what I'm gonna do to create better staying power but still use dark brown. I've got my e.l.f. Cookies and Dreams No Budge Shadow Stick in the dark brown shade. It's called Cookie Lover. And we're just going to take that and we're going to get that same effect of having kind of a smudgy, soft, dark brown on the lower lash line by just putting a little bit of this on. It's going to set, it's not going to move. Real easy. You could even top that off with a little shadow if you felt the need, but it's giving us the same look of dark shadow, but it's a look that will last all day long. Okay, got that going on. And she may have hit upper lash line too, so I'm going to just put a little bit of this on the upper. Trying to keep the look practical and long wearing. Then I will take my liner brush and I'll go into that dark brown. I'll go over it just a bit. Kind of the way she did, a little smudgy. It was not super heavy looking. Also, I'm pretty sure she had some lash extensions in. That's probably how she was able to forget mascara. She didn't completely forget it, but it was like the last thing she threw on, like, oh yeah, mascara. So just keep that in mind. I'm going over what I did there too. Feels kind of odd to think about lining my eyes first, but that's pretty much what she did. Then she used a crease color. So I'm just gonna go into, let's do this one first. This little light brown tan crease color. Get that working. And I really liked when she commented about the advice from Kevin Aquan, and she said, don't be scared of makeup. You know, it does wash off. We don't need to be so concerned about getting it just exactly right and being so perfect all the time. Like, it's just makeup. Who really cares what anybody thinks about it? So we're just getting like this really naturally sculpted kind of crease out of that shade that's just soft and kind of cool. And then she went darker in the outer corner. So I'm going to use that dark shade first a little bit with this larger brush. Just kind of get that going. And then I think I'm going to bring in a smaller brush to shape it slightly more. Here we're just kind of placing. And as she was doing her eyeshadow, she was like, you know, I do like to play with my makeup and do some fun stuff, but I think she was really just trying to represent more of an everyday look here. So I'm taking my Profusion small pointed brush so I can control that deep shade just a little bit more. And, you know, she pretty much just had that confined to the outer corner, giving a little darkness and a little lift, okay? Okay, seeing that? Looking good, looking right. And then she took the warmer shade in her lineup and it looked a lot like this color here. And she used that kind of just like transitioning out above the darkest shade. And this was pretty much where the look ended, where the eyeshadow stopped from what they showed us. So I'm gonna do that here. Getting it up above. I may need to blend a little bit more. I got a little much on my brush there. I love makeup so much. This is so much fun. That looks really smooth. I am gonna blend a bit here. Just a bare brush. Got a little heavy-handed. And I am gonna stick, I don't know, maybe just like a combo. I might mix a mid-tone with the lighter shade and put that on the lid. Not really sure what was on her lid. This will make for a finished look and at least some consistent texture. So just dabbed in the cream and the next shade beside it. And just pat a little bit of that in here. Works for me. The next step for eyes would be to do the mascara. So I'm gonna curl my lashes. She used, guess what? It Cosmetics Superhero. I'm so proud that we align on that makeup product. But for this video, since we're going all drugstore, I'm gonna use my L'Oreal Lash Paradise. I would say so far, like one of the most amazing things to me was going over concealer with the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Brightener and just noting the level of brightness, the level of coverage that that gave. Like, I think it was probably going even further than her YSL Touche Éclat was on her skin. So yeah, this complexion combo, just gold, I think. The Wears Walnut stick, even that highlighter stick, the e.l.f. Camo concealer, the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Dewy for her look. You know, if you want to stick with the matte, that's fine. But then bringing in that Instant Age Rewind, it's just so good. So here we come in to try to thicken up these lashes a little bit. Oh, I love this mascara. This was one of my big rediscovered loves of the past year, was Lash Paradise. And I about need to buy a new tube. I really wanted to use this because I knew it would make my lashes look nice and thick, and she's working with what appear to be some extensions because she definitely looked like she had a lash just going in. I don't have any extensions, so this is going to have to work. I think she did put some mascara on the lower lashes, and for that I will be using my Cali Ray Come Hell or High Water because that will not smudge. I think I've definitely discovered some techniques that I will be using again. That sequence of product there at the beginning actually just was really cool. Concealing, contouring, then tapping on a relatively light amount of foundation. Here I am breaking my drugstore rule for a second, but I can trust this Cali Ray on the lower lashes. Love that stuff. I'm gonna do lips, and then I'm gonna do that setting powder step that she did. So she used a nude lip liner from Makeup Forever, and she went like just did some real overlining, it seemed like. And so I'm gonna use my Revlon Color Stay lip liner in nude, and I'm gonna try to do that. Like, it seemed like she went down here on the bottom and really got under the lip like that, like a line kind of went under. So we're gonna do a little overlining. And I am going to fill in the whole lips because we're going to top with a gloss, not anything that's like crazy opaque. So with my top lips, I'm really going to come out a little bit here. Cupid's bow is there, but it's not quite as pronounced as usual. We have gone outside the lines there a little bit. You know, not ridiculously so, but enough. And then she used a couple different shades of the Fenty Gloss Bomb. I think she used that original one that came out. Does anybody remember that? And I'm not sure on the specific shades, but her lips had a very like caramely look, a nude warmth and a little bit of depth look. So I think I'm gonna use my Maybelline Lifter Gloss in the shade Topaz to try to get that same vibe and really take it all the way to the outsides, like really gloss them up. This was the kind of look. Maybe even a little bit warmer than my lips are looking now. But some of that may have had to do with the liner she picked. And I still don't have any powder on my face. So she used as her finishing powder a little bit of Makeup Forever loose finishing powder, which is a really nice powder. It looked to be maybe in a translucent type of shade. I'm going to use my Wet n Wild Photo Focus loose powder today. And I'm going to use my Morphe Under Eye Bullet Brush. And she basically just got in here to this zone. That was where she used it. Seemed to be a light amount of powder. It definitely wasn't a big bake. It was just a little finishing powder here. And I know from personal experience wearing this look yesterday that I could benefit from having a little bit of that on my nose. So I did get a bit oily. And the thing about the longevity of the look, like it was good, it wasn't amazing. I definitely set in the entire T-zone as opposed to just the under eye. And I would also go in at the end and probably use just a bit more blush. Remember that pretty shade of e.l.f. Putty Blush? I'm just gonna come in, hit the cheeks with a little more of that up here. This was so much fun. I really do like the way the look turned out. That process of doing the concealers and then the contour and then the foundation was actually really fun and really satisfying, and you just kind of saw your contour sort of melt away, and it was so pretty. I do look sculpted, but it's soft and it's believable. I enjoy that. The eye is very just ultra natural and everyday, and then for the lip we're thinking nude lip, semi-deep nude lip, and just really glossed up. You know something I should probably also do? I just feel like the face and my neck and chest are a little different colors, so I could take some of my bronzer, my Rimmel Natural bronzer, and just sort of go over this area, or even hit it with like more of a body bronzer or a body luminizer type of product to get a little more glow there. But yeah, thanks JLo, thanks Vogue. Let me know if you guys are gonna try any of these techniques or products as well, and I will see you again very soon. I love you. Bye.